From the studios of TvGrace International, here are the ineffable words of God. The gospel of grace on the lips of the man Christ Jesus. Abba, Father.
This study is made up of 4 distinct steps: A, B, C, and D. The first theme we will discuss is the flesh of Christ. Then the flesh of the chosen ones. Then the law is kept with what? The flesh genre. And what is grace kept with? With the Spirit. With what? With the mind. Your mind is spirit. See these thoughts. The treasure's clay is the flesh, right? The clay. Are we treasures in glasses of clay? The veil is the covering of the spirits of the just made perfect. Your righteous spirit made perfect has a veil of, has a clay. Synonym clay, veil. Flesh. It's all synonymous, isn't it? It says, the humiliation of the congregation of thousands of angels. Those thousands of angels who are righteous spirits made perfect, because those angels were damaged. That gathering of thousands of angels from Hebrews 12, those angels as they take on a body. Do you remember when it says, as for the sons, the gods, the angels, they partook of flesh. He, God, partook of the same. Then, this flesh is a veil. It is humiliation. And also this flesh is the reason for the existence of the law. God gave the law because of the clay. Therefore, the Old Testament is an added covenant. God added it. For as the flesh was added, so he also added a covenant for the flesh, to portray the flesh, to put government to the flesh, so that the world would not go away. The problem is that the law needs to be followed to perfection, but the flesh cannot do so. And then what God gave to subdue the flesh became a curse, a ministry of death, that it caused harm to all of us. That ministry harmed all of humanity. That is why Paul, even though he himself said that the law is holy, then he said the law is holy, yes, but that is a ministry of death, of curse and condemnation, and perishable. Because excellence is your angel, your spirit. That is excellence, achieving your spirit. The flesh of Christ. God put on flesh one day 2,000 years ago. He came to the cross and died. He brought a flesh that was not good. He was good on the inside, as you are good on the inside. But on the outside, he had bad flesh, like you have bad flesh inside. The only thing he did not sin, but the flesh was bad. Romans 8:3. Don't look at me like that. Look closely. Look how Christ's flesh was. Yes, because there are people who in flesh believe that it is very important. That's why even if we knew Christ according to the flesh, you can't know him like that. Romans 8:3. See how he states it, since what was hard for the law? Impossible for the law. Notice that the law had limits. It couldn't sanctify you. It couldn't save you. The law couldn't improve you, nor could the commandments of Moses. It's a shame there are people out there trying to keep them. It says, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful what? In the likeness of flesh, of sin. And because of sin, what did he do? Condemned sin in what? in the flesh. Read well, in the flesh. In which flesh? In all flesh. To put it differently, he took on human form, and in that form he faced temptations. He experienced all the trials that you go through. Happened to him. That's why he understands you and loves you. Whatever a man gives to a woman, everything, no matter how bad, he says he was tempted in all things. More sinless, but his flesh was useless. That's why he died, because it was useless. Everything that dies is of no use. Like you are useless in the flesh, you die. That's why you need so many treatments and scientists making medicine, because you have a body that doesn't work. His didn't either. He clothed himself in flesh. Now in that flesh he took the sin of his flesh, of the condition of being like flesh, and the sin of what it did to your flesh. So he condemned. Stop bothering Jose Luis. I will remove sin from the earth in one day, so that my chosen ones will no longer be in sin. 2,000 years ago, he took it and condemned it. Do you know what it means to condemn? When you condemn a person and give them 100 years in prison, you leave it alive, but useless. You know he's in jail. Pastor, what if he runs away? No, he can't escape from this prison. To escape, he needs to bring Christ before the cross and leave him dead. He made sure that you cannot be labeled a sinner. Pastor, but all the churches out there say we are sinners. That's not true. Those are not churches. Those are places of deception. Synagogues of the devil. How will they hurt you when he came exactly to condemn sin in his flesh? And in the flesh of the chosen ones. 6:11. Likewise you also reckon yourselves to be dead indeed to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus our Lord. In other words, what he did for himself, he did for you, but he left you living. And then the lie of your flesh tells you that you are a sinner. You are not a sinner. You are not a sinner. In fact, from Christ onwards, there are no sinners. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 15. He says that Christ abolished in his flesh what? What? What does abolish mean? To remove from the midst. Abolishing in his flesh what? And what else? The law of whose commandments? Of Moses. What did he do concerning Moses' commandments? He removed them from where? Did he take them away? It says, pay attention to me. There are people who still keep the law. They keep the Sabbath. They are still in there with Moses. They keep the tablets of the law in their temples. And why did Christ come? To abolish. And if you go to a church where they say you have to keep the Sabbath because that is the seal of God, where are you? In what kind of church? In a church that is apostate, because they are not recognizing that that's what Christ came to abolish, that. To take them out. It says that abolishing in what? Where? In his spirit? No. That is why he dressed himself in flesh. To decontaminate you from that poisoned flesh. That is why with one offering he made you perfect. Do you not realize that he gave his body to cleanse you from impurities? So that you walk as what you are inside, a clean God, without stain, without wrinkle, a pure virgin is what you are. You can't be any cleaner. If you keep cleaning, you'll vanish. From 8. Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit. Hello. Philosophy and empty deceit. Hey, empty deceit. Do you know what those empty deceit are? I love you in Christ. Come forward and I will pray for you so that your sins will go away. So that the devil will leave you alone for a while, even if he comes back again. Those are empty deceit. It says empty deceit according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ. For in him all the fullness of deity dwells in bodily form, and in him you have been made. You are what? How are you? What does complete mean? When something is complete, can anything be added to it? And he is the head over every ruler and authority. In him also. Here is what the flesh did. You are complete in spirit, right? But what he did to your flesh with his flesh. Listen, to your flesh with his flesh. In him also. And in him you were also circumcised with a circumcision performed without hands. A circumcision performed without hands. In the removal of the body of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ. What did he do to your sinful body? He cast it out, right? Out of you. Can you be found in sin? Even if you behave badly, can you be found in sin? Even if you do something wrong, can you be found in sin? So, you'll do something wrong because no one can find you? No. No way, Paul said. But the idea is that you know that, because that's called a clean conscience. It says, for I know that good does not dwell in me, that is, in my flesh. For the willing is present in me. But doing it, what a problem. Hello. I have the desire to do good, but I struggle to act on it. You need support, and we will discuss this later, to help you succeed in doing good. A little help that you will grasp, and then you will start improving. But you're never going to be completely fixed. And you won't change. You are going to take him captive, to subject him. But your flesh does not change. It is always bad. Your flesh is like the grass in your yard that you cut today, and it doesn't stay beautiful. Hey, it looks good. After 2 weeks, even without rain. That's why green areas here are $1 million business. Like barbers. Barbers cut you once, and you stay that way forever. Hey, sometimes the cut looks good on me. That's how I wanted it. But other times, something happens, and it never looks the way you want it to. The same thing happens to women. Hey, that cut looks awesome. I wish it would stay like this. But your hair grows, and that's how your flesh is. You can trim it a little bit, but it grows back. That's good news. The news I'm giving you, not bad news. It's bad to tell you, you're going to change. Stay here in this church, and you're going to change. And then 10 years later, you say, what changed? It's always the same. That's why evangelical churches lie. They say, see, you are going to change. Your life is going to change. My life doesn't need to change. My spirit has changed. How can you say that you are going to change little by little? No, my spirit has already changed. And what do you say to me? Yes, in this church is the power of God, and you are going to change. You never change at all. It was Christ, and he couldn't. He didn't change you through that sacrifice. And he couldn't. It stayed damaged. Do you know why? Because he doesn't like flesh. He doesn't eat flesh. He has no appetite for flesh. He left it there, and he gives you instructions on how to deal with it. But not to change it. That is why you have to know the truth, so that the truth can set you free. Because if you try to change, you get frustrated. What can improve you is information in your spirit. And once you know, you live free. And by living free, you behave better. Where are we? In the flesh of the chosen ones. 2 to the Corinthians chapter 10. Let's see what we can do. Since it does not submit to the law, let's see what can be done with the law of the Spirit. Second letter to the Corinthians chapter 10. Hey, I want to say something to you while you search for that verse. You can pretend to be very holy. Listen up. You can appear to be a very holy woman and a very holy man, and thank God no one has seen you. But pay close attention to me. Look, you have rooms with codes, just like you do with your computer, where you put a code on your email to keep others from accessing it. Well, in your heart, here you have some little apartments that no one has seen so far. And thank God you have not been ashamed. How good that no one sees you. Those angels have covered you very beautifully, but I have a little key for all those little hearts. I got a key. Have you seen those hotel keys that open all the doors? It's called a master key. I have a small key that means you can't hide anything from me. You don't have to say what it is. But I know that, as they say in Puerto Rico, he who doesn't have some defects has other defects, but he has something. Because you are not going to fool God. You need grace. You need grace. That's why Romans 11:32, look it up. No, I haven't read 2 to the Corinthians, we're on our way. 2 to the Corinthians 10. Look at what you can do. You know that the world is waiting to wake up. We are going to wake the world with this word because there is a lot of hypocrisy. There are many people hiding, stuck in the closets. Hello? They are stuck in hidden closets playing certain roles. However, they can't find their way out. Well, the grace is going to take you out. It's going to dismantle your closet. And then he's going to kiss you and say, "Come here, sweetheart, what's the matter with you? Don't I know how to deal with that piece of flesh you're wearing? If we don't know anyone here in the flesh, why are you so scared?" What's happening? We need to take it easy with you in what you are maturing. Because look, the senses have to be exercised in the knowledge of good and evil. Then, according to your maturity, the senses are exercised. And what you do not understand at the age of 25, at the age of 30, you will understand later. At the age of 35, at the age of 40, 45, or 50. The unfortunate part is that when you reach 60, you'll realize everything and think, if I were only 30. But if you join Growing in Grace, you'll receive some early information to help you manage your flesh and get to know yourself better. Hello? Amen. Do you receive it? Amen. Do you understand me? Amen. Well, look at what 2 to the Corinthians 10 says. We do not war according. 10:3. So for though we walk in what? What is today's theme? The flesh genre. So for though we walk in what? Say, I'm in the flesh genre. However, the detail is here, the next part. We do not war, we do not function. According to which? You can't do it at all. Look, you can't judge yourself with flesh. You can't trust the flesh. You cannot even sanctify the flesh. You can't do much with flesh. And then you have a goddess in that flesh. And don't wait for further instructions because I can't tell you more. I have to deal with my flesh and you deal with yours. And I'm not interested in yours because it's no useful and mine is no useful either. What interests me is your spirit, which is the good one. It has to be strengthened. What I want is to strengthen your spirit so that you can deal with your shark, with your horse, with your donkey, with whatever you have on. It says, for though we walk in the flesh, what does it say? Now, why can't you function in the flesh? Why can't you ask for help from flesh with flesh? Can a psychologist help you? Briefly, in a few ways, they entertain you and that's it. You see the psychologist for 2 or 3 years, and when you complete the treatment and say you don't want to come back, he will tell you to keep looking for help. You can't stop going to therapy. It gives you a lot of stress and tremendous depressions. You've already suffered, so you'll remain marginalized your whole life. And those 2 marriages and that 3rd marriage, they won't just go away. And then you leave feeling that you are fine, but you are not. And you are a woman. A man that wherever you go, you are a conflictive person. If you decide to get married again, all the quarrels and frustrations from your previous marriage will begin anew and drive your new spouse insane. In this new marriage, you won't immediately see the problems, but you'll gradually uncover them over time. Oh, Father, I was wrong again. Look who I married. This one is even worse. It's not about making changes, but instead about effectively handling various situations. Isn't it apparent that this appears to be a conference on marriage? Look at what verse 4 says. For the weapons say weapons. What does a soldier need weapons for? To defend? Well, look, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. What does the system tell you? Fast. Get on your knees. Cry out. Lift up your hands. Do not let them down. Lift them up like Moses, who kept them up. And when he got tired, Joseph came and helped him. Because when he lowered his hand, the people lost, and when he raised his hand, the people won. That was a pact with defects of symbols and things. And then they tell you, fast, don't watch movies, don't go to the movies, don't go to the beach. You know, put on crinolines like horses so that you don't look over there because it contaminates your eyes and your sight. And from there, your weapons do not come out. You can do anything. You can fast for 40 days and you're even more carnal. You can ditch the TVs at home and it'll go worse for you because later you'll want to see it on a big screen. Here you can't deal with those foolishness, with those pieties that the little churches use, that you shouldn't go here, that you shouldn't go there, that this is a sin, that this is this, that this is that. All of that is rubbish. Here you have to make use of your senses. There are parents out there who take their children, don't see this, don't see that. You're 19 when you're 21, and when you're 21, they tell them, no, not yet. So that's a pressure cooker. Then at the age of 30, one of those pots explodes over there and burn everyone. Don't be afraid of the flesh. The flesh is always the same. And if you hold it back, it's worse. Let your children go. Let them see. Let them watch. Oh, that film is ugly. What? There's nothing ugly here if that's all the same. Oh, you know that my grandmother and my aunt, they're all a bunch of old ladies with bad habits. Just leave that. So many prohibitions. Look, do you know what bothers me about this hypocritical religious world? That until now they haven't helped at all. They act with a false holiness and the kids like that, and they say, it's just that my kid and the girl. They are religious puppets that do nothing. Those shepherds. Those are hypocrisies that keep the world in darkness. And then they show off. You see them like chickens over there resembling geese. You know, that kind of geese. Hypocrites, that's hypocrisy. It's going to fall. It has to come down. Can't you see we're entering the third millennium? And in the third millennium, a people will arise as never before on the face of the earth. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but what? Where? Where? And if those weapons are powerful in God, and all is yours, you have to learn to use the power of His strength. Remember? Strengthen yourself in the power of His strength. It says, but mighty in God for pulling down what? Destruction of what? What is a stronghold? A castle? Huh? A fortress? Do you remember those Spanish castles that have doors that lower like this with chains? They are not only fortresses, they are encircled by a lake brimming with sharks. So if anyone jumps in to swim, they won't be able to touch the fortress. Fortitude is an attitude that has been ruling you for a long time and has made you self-conscious and has become a fortress and has told you you are useless, you are ugly, nobody loves you. You are not going anywhere, and it tells you you are going to stay like this. There are no changes for you. And it keeps bothering you, and then you go to church to change, and you get worse because there they sell you lies. You make efforts. You walk on your knees, and you dress differently. You buy a little cloth. You pay novenaries, but you don't change. And you go to the spiritualists and do everything. And you go to Walter Mercado and you call on the phone and you do things, you look for the zodiac sign, but even with all that, the stronghold is still there. Because those are not powerful weapons. Those are water guns. The information God gives you, that is the might of God. A woman on a trip came and told me, "Look, Pastor, I was about to commit suicide. I couldn't endure it any longer. I was in the process of writing letters for the children. I hated myself. I was fed up. Until one day I listened to a cassette that I got from you. See, that helped me. Powerful weapons operating. At the moment it opened my mind. And I began to love myself, to forgive myself. And I took strength. And now I have beautiful babies. And now we are working and everything is going excellent. I feel good. Pastor, thank you." Those are powerful weapons. That happened over there. And if I ask here, how many are bold enough to say, "Pastor, I have found my freedom here"? Please lift your hand. Look, they look like oxen. You know that oxen always have their horns like this? This word liberates. This is not a game. This is not one of those religions where they say, "Come forward." Those little religious games where those who go to church tell them, "Come forward," those who feel bad, "Get up, come in," and the altar fills up, and then they play one of those little tunes to bewitch you. Come to Him. Come to Him. He is waiting for you. And you are there crying, shedding tears, and saying, "Oh Lord," and you've been in church for 10 years now and saying, "I promise I won't do it anymore, Lord." And there's the same story month after month. How can you put up with that lie? No such call is ever made here. What for? That call was made to you before the foundation of the world, according to 2 Timothy 1:9. See if that will happen here. What's going to happen up front here? Your flesh. And when you come by here with all that flesh, who will help you there? Another piece of flesh. Flesh and more flesh. Is it going to help you? With me putting my hand on you and saying, "Oh Lord, oh, the pastor is putting his hand on me, but I'm a piece of flesh. Look. Lord, help her. Be merciful, but it remains the same." That is the charm that can be found all around the world, tricking many. Verse 5, casting down arguments and every high thing. Hey, some proud people say that grace is not acceptable. It's not about grace. Those folks are actually quite humorous. They do nothing. They don't kneel. You never see them doing that. They are always in prosperity. They are always joyful. And they always have a show. They are always laughing. They never cry. They never moan. That haughtiness stands against the knowledge of God, not against the works of God, of knowledge. For the knowledge of God is the powerful weapons, not works, not sacrifices, not commandments. Is knowledge, because there are people who say, so everything is with knowledge? Well, those are the powerful weapons. The knowledge are the powerful weapons. It says, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. That's why we were talking about confession. About confession. I walk by faith, in faith, by faith. Because when you take a thought captive, then you confess like this: I do not receive this. I don't receive this. I am going to oppose this. I say this is like this, Lord. Imagine this ministry I carry with my mouth. That's why I don't get old. I mean, they say out there, I receive it. They say, Pastor, for if I should labor and put my flesh in, here you cannot work hard, it must be so. Bear my yoke, my burden upon you, because light and easy. Say easy. Say the gospel is easy. Some say that it is very difficult. Being a Christian is very difficult, of course, if you're dealing with flesh and commandments. But if you take the true gospel, look, there's good news. The church lied to the people because what he said was that he came to bring and remove the yoke of oppression. He says, come to me, you who are weary and heavy laden. I will give you rest. For my burden is light and easy to bear. For God has committed some to disobedience. For what purpose? Mercy from whom? So in the flesh, what are you? Disobedient position. No, Pastor, I am a very good man. No. God says you are disobedient, because if not, He has no mercy on you. What happens is that some types of flesh are better behaved than others, apparently. However, all were subject to disobedience.
Position-wise, all were constitute disobedient.
To practice English, this conference will be in English later on. You think I don't speak English? I speak English, mind you. I preach in English too. And soon in Portuguese.
Eu falo português. Preciso. Você precisa falar a palavra de Deus.
Hey, did you see that? The apostle over there? Thank God. Hey, I'm missing a Bible verse here. What was it? No, we read that one, Romans 11:32. But I missed another one here. Colossians was the one I didn't read, the enmities. He freed us from sin. With that, I conclude. Just a minute more to read it. I know we looked for it, but I didn't read it. 2:12, buried with Him in baptism. What baptism? His death, correct? This isn't the usual water baptism. Nor is it the Holy Spirit baptism. It's the baptism of His death, in which you also were raised with Him. Our spirit has already risen from the dead. It has risen. Not our bodies, the flesh has not risen, but our spirit has already risen with Him through faith in the working of God, who raised Him from the dead. And you, being dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, he has made alive together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, nullifying enmities, having wiped out the handwriting of requirements that was against us, which was contrary to us. And he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross, having disarmed principalities and powers, demons of every demon there was. Satan, the whole world calls him the devil. Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them 2,000 years ago, triumphing over them in it. Yet the church still holds them there. So let no one judge you in food or in drink, the Holy Supper, or in respect to a holy day like Pentecost, those celebrations and ceremonies, or a new moon, or rest days, Saturdays. No one judge you, which are a shadow. What was law? A shadow of things to come, but the substance is of Christ. Let no one cheat you of your reward, taking delight in false humility and worship of angels, intruding into those things which he has not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding fast to the head, from whom all the body, nourished and knit together by joints and ligaments, grows with the increase that is from God. Therefore, if you died with Christ from the basic principles of the world, why, as though living in the world, do you subject yourselves to regulations? Do not touch, do not taste, do not handle, which all concern things which perish with the using, according to the commandments and doctrines of men. It's over? We are standing. Tell the one next to you, I have the flesh under control. Because I know it.